Welcome along once again to the Cardiff City phone-in. We're hoping to have one more guest to join us, but there's been a slight technical hitch. Well, there's an whole day of technical hitches, actually, but that's another story. So at the moment, we got the All Steve special, which is quite nice, you know. Steve Wiggins and Steve Thomas and me, Steve Johnson. Any other Steves, obviously, don't feel left out. You know, your big day might come. Just hang in there. Jeff, hopefully Jeff Dela Cruz, who isn't called Steve, will be joining us in a bit, our Irish branch. But it'll be quite an interesting one tonight because there's no matter how we get on, Steve Thomas, yeah, no matter how we get on. I mean, on the weekend we got a draw against Bristol City, who if they'd won would have been in the playoffs. We're towards the end of February, so the kind of table doesn't lie at this point. But we didn't win, and we nearly lost. So up until the time we got that equaliser, you know, we're the worst team in history, and it's all over. Sack the board. Let's get a new manager, etc. Right? But Steve, it was in the end. You know, I know it's not really enough. We'd love to win because we still don't have that many points, but we got a draw, got a creditable draw, and I would say probably one of the best worked team goals we've scored all season.
It was. I thought that again the three subs combined really well.
Didn't they?
I've seen a lot of comments over the last few days about whether these people should be starting, and I think that there are certain players who are better as impact subs. At the moment, Aaron Ramsey is not going to be able to have a whole game in him, but I think coming on as sub and playing that superb ball through for Keon Ashford, and then the superb ball across that Salif managed to put it in the far post. I thought that was absolutely excellent. And we finally, I think, got a centre forward who's going to be putting his feet in where somebody might previously have not dared to do so. I did though notice that Wilfred Kanga did score for Dinamo Zagreb.
Yeah.
So I don't know what their opposition must have been like. But yeah, it's very encouraging. But it's amazing what you pick up what you said there, Steve, as well. It's interesting as well that you've got the euphoria of scoring the late equaliser. Yet I remember being at Stoke away and letting in that last minute equaliser there. So it's great when you come out with the same result as the other team, but you've got there in a different way.
Yeah, and Ramsey, hey Jeff, well done. Ramsey was actually involved. Looking at it again. He was involved in that move. He was involved in that move 3 times, Steve. And that final ball he put through, he couldn't really have hit it sweeter, could he?
He is, without a doubt, the best midfield player in the Championship. However, he is not. Obviously, we lost him for his injury in the Wales game in September. We've not seen him since last season when we started out. And the game he played against the Jacks in particular, he was absolutely out of this world. The best player on the pitch, and say that I think the best player in the league on his day. It's just a question of whether if we can use him sparingly, get him to come on and make the contribution that he does. That's been to have over the last few games this season.
Okay, the Irish panel are still settling in. There's a couple of sound effects going on there, but we'll come back to the Irish panel in a second. We go to Steve Wiggins next. We almost had an all Steve panel, Jeff. You've blown it now, but no, don't feel too bad. Steve, what was your take on the weekend? It was a nail biter, obviously, wasn't it? You know,
it was, gentlemen. Yeah, I just want to go back to when I first saw this, and let me get it in. That was the team sheet. The team sheet before kickoff, and I had my son with me. And as soon as I saw the team sheet, I couldn't believe that Yusuf Salik wasn't on there. Having watched Bristol City the week before against the Swans, and they're big, powerful centre halves, and the other thing I didn't understand was El Ghazi on the wing. And I said to Joseph, my son, and where we sit, we are lucky because El Ghazi was right in front of us first half. And I'm sorry, but I'd be seriously thinking about contracts at the end of the season wherever we are. But I was just very disappointed with the way we set up against you. I thought, before the game, we were told that we were going to be a bit more proactive and in their faces, and I don't think we were first half. I think we again sat back too far, and I think they even though they didn't threaten us, they controlled that midfield. They looked a couple of yards sharper than us, I thought, first half. but really disappointed that Yusuf didn't start that game, because I think it was crying out for a big centre forward there Saturday. And I don't know what you guys think, but as good as Robbo's been this season, he tends to drift out the box. And the number of times where we got close to their box first half, but there was no one in there, because Robbo checks out the box and he's moving in the channels looking for the ball. And we're void of a centre forward and threats in the box. And I don't think we took the game to them as well as we should have done first half. And it was a bit of a damp squib the first 45.
Playing devil's advocate, Steve, there, Steve Wiggy there. Is it that Yusuf Salek isn't up to speed fitness-wise yet? Because I remember, particularly at Millwall, first 20 minutes, as happened at Leeds, and he went the other way. First 20 minutes, Millwall kind of ripped us apart. They scored the 2 goals, but then when we made the substitutions in the second half, we suddenly started threatening them. Yes, as Bristol did on Saturday, the opposition did start backing off us. But I thought El Ghazi had a fantastic game when he came on at Millwall, and he was putting some good balls in. And of course, before Salek scored, he did have a really good chance before that. So I'm thinking, if Salek isn't fully fit, is he better coming off as an impact player for the time being?
Good point. That is. I was just very disappointed. And the thing is, I watched him on Saturday very close, and he's not even showing for the ball. And the fullback gave him a couple of early digs, and he just didn't want to know after that. He's not dropping short for the ball. He's not going in behind. And when you see young Alves on the other side, who I thought was really, really good. I don't know what you guys thought, but he looks a prospect for sure. And I'm just wondering whether, and again, I don't know what you all think, but at home, if Salek is up to it, certainly against teams like Bristol, who let's face it, they're challenging for the playoffs, but they're not a Leeds United. Whether we should go for more 2 up front and start with Yusuf and Robinson, just play Alves wide and keep the others. Even if you play in Ashford midfield, and he can work up and down a bit more, I think, on that right-hand side, but he can also drop in the middle. But I think there's a case for starting, and we don't seem to do it anymore, do we? 2 up front, like the old smash and grab, Toshak and stuff.
Yeah, actually, I was watching some football on the weekend. Guten Abend to Ireland, by the way, to Jeff.
Thank you.
Is watching some football on the weekend. I can't remember what team it was, maybe even been a Premiership side. And they were more or less playing 4-4-2, and I don't see why you can't do that. But going back to the El Ghazi thing, Jeff, it's funny because what Steve Thomas said is true. He had some good look. All of a sudden, looked really good. He'd been out for a while. He'd been injured, came back, looked good in the Millwall game. And then people were saying then in the Portsmouth game, how come El Ghazi wasn't starting? I would have started him. And then we did start him, and he didn't have his best game. He's not. When you think about his kind of heritage, Jeff, as a player, he's got he comes with a really good kind of CV, if you like, doesn't he? But he hasn't consistently really proven himself this season. He showed moments of it, I think, hasn't he?
Just moments. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
It's just moments with him. Very frustrating. He looks world class, and then it's not as if he's pulling it all in. He certainly doesn't like too much physicality. Yeah. He's such a frustrating player. And then in the back of my mind is that he's not going to get particularly physical until after the Villa game. He is so desperate to play in that. He's even admitted it himself, isn't he? I can't wait to get back and play in front of the whole tent. He's almost, you dare not drop me for that game. But unfortunately, he just didn't really turn up. Did a few good things. You think, go on, and then, frustrates me. Whether he's past it now, I don't know. Those 18 months off may have done for him.
A long time, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a long time, isn't it?
Particularly at that stage in his career.
Yeah.
Is he more suited to the Premier League, where they maybe get given just a little bit more grace? The Championships, it can be a very physical, and they were physical. The first half, Bristol got stuck into us on Saturday, and I think it shook him up a little bit, just watching him on that right-hand side. And that's maybe the reason why we didn't see anything of him on Saturday. Don't know.
Yeah.
I think as well, Steve, for what you said, there's interesting about the physicality of the Championship. I think Salek said after his first 2 substitute appearances, he'd had more knocks in his first two appearances than he did in the whole of the season that he played before he came here. So I think it is a different sort of league. The physicality is something that players have got to get used to. I'll take your point about El Ghazi as well. He is, as you say, desperate to play against Aston Villa, but we have only got one more game to go before then. There's also said about his free kicks being shocking. The first corner that Aaron Ramsey took on Saturday did leave a bit to be desired as well.
Yeah. So I think we probably, which we wouldn't we, as City fans, Jeff? We tend to like the local lads having a go. So I'm a massive Ashford fan. You know, I think I'd probably have him in there over El Ghazi at the moment, which is maybe is that just romantic bias, or would you say that's based on reality?
No, you've got to be playing him. I understand why he wasn't started. He played a lot for a young lad recently. He played 120, 90 minutes. Maybe a rest what was the thing to do, and El Ghazi should have taken his chance, but he didn't. And then when Ashford came on, well, yeah, there was an impact, wasn't it? Ramsey and Ashford, such a great impact.
Yeah, and yet another assist.
Yeah, again another. Unbelievable. Just a beautifully timed run for Ramsey to just poke that little ball through to him, and one look up, bang, bang. It was great that Salek just got on the end of it, but that's we'd be crying out for a striker that could do that. You know? Yeah.
Sorry, Steve.
And that's what I was going to say, gents. That's the essence of what we've been missing again, and we talked about it for seasons, Steve. Is people getting to the byline and just getting behind the defence and knocking the ball across the box? It's not rocket science. It's going back to the Ronnie Bird, Willie Anderson, John Farrington, Barry Jones days. You know, where our wingers got to the byline, banged the ball over, and Clarkey and Toshak or Ernie or whoever's there, and the ball's in the net. Even Alan Warboys used to score.
A lot of it, I think, as well, is that you've got Aaron Ramsey who can pick a pass, and yet the amount of times you saw, particularly in the first half, players were making runs. They were getting into space, but the player wouldn't be looking up. They wouldn't be in a position to play the ball forward. When Aaron Ramsey comes on, he's one of the very, very rare breed of players who can actually get the ball under control, have a look, and play that killer pass, which he did for our equaliser.
So Steve, Thomas, the point you're making there, like I said, in that move, he actually touched the ball 3 times. Yeah, and he's played. He's apart from the third pass, which was beautiful. He's played fairly simple passes, right? Yeah. But he's just in football terms, he's a weird analogy. It's like a safe pair of hands. You know, he gets the ball. He's not going to give it away. Actually, Mansverk is the same. He gets the ball, and you pretty well know he's not going to do anything daft with it. But I watched the under 21s the other week when he and Simic scored the goal, and Ramsey set him up. And even in that performance, but he's just got a class. He's just he's a class act. But unfortunately, he's also very fragile, Steve, isn't he? So you got to wonder how long we can keep him fit in the Championship of all leagues, really.
Absolutely. It's interesting. You've got to keep Ramsey fit. Every time he got the ball, I was very thankful he was playing the ball off before a Bristol player got anywhere near him to clatter him. So I think if somebody clatters him, that might be in for a while. But also going to Mansverk, he looks a completely class act. He's not the sort of player we're going to be able to sign permanently. Yeah, he's just coming back from injury with Ajax, and Ajax wanted him to get out, getting some game time. I think we're really lucky to have him for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I quite like the idea. As I said to Jeff before the game on the weekend, I quite like the idea of Ramsey, particularly again at this stage of his career, Steve Wiggy, which contradicts the fact that he put that ball forward. I quite like him, maybe a little further back, where I think he's not quite so exposed, and he's got a little bit more time on the ball, and I don't know, maybe moving forward we might see more of that.
It's not a bad shout, Steve. And until I watched the clip which I posted up earlier, which I hadn't seen on the Cardiff City page, I really wasn't aware that he started that move back in our own half. So it just, I think he passed the ball, or he passed the ball to Perry, and And another shout for the enigma that is Ruben Colwell as well. Who, I mean, I chatted to quite a few of my friends that were there Saturday. They thought he was terrible, but I thought Colwell had a really good game, and he never gave up. But just to go back to Ramsey, yeah, it might not be a bad call, Steve, but as we've alluded to there, the fragile sticker on Ramsey, that's going to go out to the opposition, and Plymouth, another very physical team again on Saturday, and I think they've just signed a couple of big centre backs from Europe who are monsters. I watched the Liverpool game, so it's going to be a physical game on Saturday. That's the worry, isn't it? You know.
Did you just for comedy value? Did you see the interview with one of the central defenders after the game?
Yes.
His English is still at the developmental stage, I think.
But I tell you what, they're good players. I don't know where they got them from, but they're good centre halves, the two of them. Because they play three at the back, don't they?
Yeah. Jeff, you'd also picked up on that, hadn't you? I mean, obviously they got the new manager bounce, and they've really solidified at the back, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean that Katic, he's the central of the defenders, and is it the other guy that he had man bun. I can't think of his name.
Manbun's fine,
something. Yeah. They were absolutely immense. Every time they put in a tackle, weren't they? Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
This is why I think on Saturday you got to play Salek from the start.
And they won 5-1.
He's the only one I really think can half deal with it. They're going to be very physical. Yeah. He's going to get a battering. Yeah. But I think he could take care of himself. I think he's got a bit of a brain in that little area, the 6-yard box. He could hold them off. He's our chance. And Ramsey, I wouldn't be putting him in right at the start. I think he's special teams now. You know, you put him on when you need to put him on towards the end of the game. As they tire, slap him on then. If we're chasing it, if we're not chasing it, just keep him wrapped up in bubble wrap for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's a special talent, and we've just got to nurture it. You know, a lot of people are calling for him to start, but it's just not, that'd be the end of him.
Yeah. Well, it worked quite well bringing him on when we did on the weekend, really, didn't it? I mean, it was perfect in a way, wasn't it? You know.
Yeah, and as you said, in that role, that's almost like a number 8.
Yeah,
he's
got the class to do that role, standing on his head. Really, I mean, it would just be an easy thing for him to do. Yeah, and he's still got the vision. He's got the vision.
Yeah, he's got the ability to scan, hasn't he? He's got the ball and he's scanning all the time. But it's just the one thing that Ruben, to me, is lacking at the moment. Just that ability to scan. And, you know, he's got all the talent in the world, but just needs that ability. You'll learn that. You'll see Ramsey, because he's playing again. You know, you'll see what he does. We got a good, decent enough side coming along now. When they gel, I think we're going to fly up that league.
Well, I'll go through it later, but there's at least 7 players still out at the moment. Yeah. But Steve, I've left Steve Thomas. I like the contrasting Cardiff City kits going on here with Jeff and Steve as well. You know, different eras and all that. You know, nice touch. It wasn't pre-planned or anything. You know, we didn't want to wear the same outfit. You know, it'd be terrible. Yeah. But Steve, I left the comment on there from Jamie Anderson. You know, obviously, we'll be talking about that match throughout, really, as we go back to the games as well. But credit to Jamie for before the match on the weekend, taking part in the challenge on TV with the Bristol City fan, but unfortunately he lost 11-10. So, you know, he let down the whole of Cardiff there, Jamie. Really, you know, I mean, shocking, really.
No, at least he was there. At least he was there. He turned up. He put a performance in. Unlike some of our players over the years, to go back to Saturday, I think it is going to be a physical game. But again, I'm still not sure about if Salek's up against their 2-man monsters at the back. Is he going to get knocked about too much? Is that going to put him off? Are we better off? Potentially controversial. I'll hide underneath my chair here in a minute. Are we better sticking with Robbo to start up for the first bit and then bringing Salek on later on?
Well, what I've liked about Yusuf Salek so far, even in the Swansea game. When it all kicked off, you know, he was straight in there. He was just, you know, he was holding 2 or 3 Swansea players back, wasn't he? You know, he seems to be up for it. He's got the physicality, and he's aware that he has that physicality. So I kind of really like his attitude. The other thing, Steve, Thomas, as well, is the other option there, which maybe we'll withdraw the panel on actually, is of course Robbo. You know, he is carrying a slight injury kind of concern. You know, like a hammy issue. But you could play him in the number 10, couldn't you? You know, you could play him in number 10, which would then allow you effectively to almost have those two front players. Steve, Thomas, any thoughts on that?
My concern about playing two up front, whilst I can see the benefit from it from being more attacking, is stating the obvious. We would have to then miss a midfield player. Who is that going to be? Are we going to miss? Are we going to miss somebody being pushed forward? Are we going to lose something in the back? Are we going to lose something in the middle to win?
No, I mean he sits in that role like Ruben's role.
Yeah.
So Ruben isn't really in the midfield. He's kind of he's a forward prong, isn't he?
Yeah.
So if you put Robbo in there, I think he's got the skills to do it.
I think we've said previously that he is a much better foil striker rather than the central striker, as was illustrated by the fact he was getting knocked about a bit on Saturday. I think we'd have to play a little bit differently. If the ball's played into him as the leading striker, then he can do things with it. I just seen it in the comments here that Martin says Robinson can't play at number 10. He can't pass well enough, but he has shown that he did have a decent run of scoring, and I'd say that the scoring record that Salek's got so far, I don't want to speak too soon, but he's reminding me a little bit of Sorry Cabba with a bit more skill, in that Sorry Cabba came in and did score a lot of goals for us and helped keep us in the division. I'm hoping that Salek can do the same thing. Very, very pleased that he got that goal on Saturday. Yeah. Very, very pleased he got the goal at Millwall as well. Again, he came on and has made an impact, but both times and scored very important goals.
And Steve Wiggins, I know you did play as a striker when you played football. Obviously, you were in the championship level, but that was your position. I was a big lumpy central defender, so this is more for you, really, right? But even that Millwall game, he missed the header, right? Which you could argue he could have buried, and he's missed another chance since. But on the other 3 occasions, he put it back in the net. But most importantly, on all 5 occasions, he was in the right place at the right time.
That's the key to it all, isn't it? I mean, when you're a striker, you're going to miss some, yes, but it's getting into those key positions, and it's something that we seem to be lacking without Yusuf on the pitch, and that's the reason I personally start him, because I think he's got that little bit of a nonce to get in those positions like he did on Saturday, which was quite clever what he did, because I think the centre half thought he was going to come in near post, and he sort of checked back a little bit and went far post, but a superb ball by Ashford to find him as well. But that's a centre forward's job, to do little things like that. And I think he's more sort of prone to be running into channels and backing in and sticking an elbow in the centre half. So I think that's the way I played back in the day, anyway. But I mean, you
need get away with it anymore, Steve. Unfortunately.
No, I don't think I would. I'd be off every game. I only got sent off once in my whole career, which was a bit of an achievement. But I think we're going to need some robustness. Let's put it that way on Saturday. I mean, the other thing I like about playing a big man as centre forward, I still don't like this playing from the back business. I'm especially the way. I mean, Jack was a little bit all over the place with his distribution, I thought, on Saturday from a goalkeeper's point of view. But it'll just be nice now and again to have that big bloke up front where you've got an out ball. Then you can lob a couple of long ones. You haven't got to worry about knocking a long one. And Robinson obviously hadn't got the height to deal with those big blokes. So it just gives you a bit of an out ball now and again. That's the reason I play him. It just adds a bit more variety to your play, which we haven't got at the moment. And we're trying to play this through the middle business, and we're getting caught sometimes because not the best away, But
what do you think, Jeff? Is there any mileage in somehow getting the 2 major goal threats, really, to getting them both to start? If you did play Robbo in that slightly deeper number 10 position.
Yeah, I feel that Robbo was worth a chance at the number 10. I'd almost play a 1-1 up top.
Yeah.
With a bit of jiggery pokery, the system will have to change somewhat to allow that. Either what do you do? It's almost 4-4-1-1, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'd like to see it. The problem is we got ourselves in a position where we need to win games.
Yes, we do.
I think we're going to be all right, but you don't want to be panicking, and then you're starting to jiggle with systems. But I would go 4-4-1-1 on Saturday, and even think you could even do it a separate way where you're using the single pivot again. No, he wants to bring in the single pivot. Do we go defensive Saturday? I don't know. Do you have rolls in? And it's one of these. It's just you're too scared to lose it. And I think that was the problem with the Bristol game. We were a little bit edgy. Didn't want to lose it. And then we looked a stupid bloody set piece again.
It was a daft goal. They all called the offside, but it looks like it looks like it.
Oh, it was offside. It was offside. I'd go 4-4-1-1. Robbo in the 10, and see what happens. Look, fortune favors the brave. Let's go for it.
The reason that I raise it is, looking at the table, we're 32 games in, right? So we're kind of 2/3 of the way there. There's 14 games to go. We're going to need some wins. We're going to need to score some goals. I'm going to need to get some wins. So that I think we kind of not madly, but we kind of got to start going for it. We got to start getting some wins. We got to score some goals. Is
it a must win Saturday then to put that ball in your court?
Well, it's an interesting one with Plymouth, isn't it? Because I thought a few weeks ago I thought they were kind of gone, but they've really turned, haven't they? And they scored 5 on the weekend. And they seem to be, and they beat Liverpool, so they seem to be full of confidence. So they're back in it. Some of the results went our way, Steve, didn't they?
I don't think Steve, as the fact that we've got to get some wins in the next few games. Have a look at our last 5 or 6 games. They're all against teams who are going to be up there challenging. I don't want to go, as I said to you last time I was on here, I don't want to go to Norwich on the last day of the season needing something, because they're thereabouts. Now we're going to have the Burnley game rearranged as well. They're going to be up there. We've still got to play Sunderland. So there's a lot of important games to go between now and the end of the season, and we've got to, if it's not a must win on Saturday, we've got the next 4 or 5 games. We got Hull coming up as well. Then we got not very, very few teams. I can only think of Sheffield Wednesday really, who really consistently mid-table, who are not going to have much to play for. We've still got Stoke to come to Cardiff as well. That's going to be a massive game as well, just down the bottom. So I think we need to pick up the points now rather than later.
So there's a comment on the screen now. We're all thinking the same thing, aren't we? We're all thinking the same thing. Phil Stant.
Legend. Yeah. Has you still got your boots, Phil?
Yes.
Who needs Cantona?
Yeah. Wow. Unless unless is it the real Phil Stant? That's the thing, isn't it? That's the thing. We love to get you on, Phil. If it's a real Phil Stant, could still be possible if you're not the real Phil Stant as well.
There's a guy that got stuck in though as well. A real robust centre forward, like the old school. So that's just what we need. And he knew where the net was too.
Yeah.
What I was going to say, Steve, just to go quickly back to their goal, it wasn't offside, Jeff. Have another look back at it. We were banged.
It was offside. It was offside.
No, well, the way they're calling offside these days, Armstrong, their coloured fella at the back stick, he was offside when the fella fizzed the ball in, but Knight or whoever it was, the goal, Perry just let him run and stuck his hand up saying he was offside when that ball was fizzed in, and that's the key to free kicks as well. And when I watched their game against the Swans at Ashton Gate on the Sunday before, all their corners, all their dead balls, they were fizzed in. Like it took me back to John Farrington when he signed for us from Leicester on the right wing, and he used to put out of a ball in from a corner. And we used to sit in the Canton stand, we used to fizz the ball in, and that's going back to the 70s, I think. But that fella who took their kicks, who was one of their best players, came on as sub on Saturday. He fizzes the ball in. So as a defender, I mean, that was about 25 yards out, that free kick. As a defender, you should be making the decision. Well, there's no decision really because it's so close to the goal. You know the ball's going to be fizzed in if you've watched them. So our coaches should have been on top of that. If you're fizzing the ball in, yes, okay, you may stand sort of just in front of the striker, but just before the ball's kicked. But you make that conscious decision to get back in like we did the last couple of minutes of the game and clear the ball, or you step out. And unfortunately, we didn't do either. We just appealed for offside.
Steve, sorry, mate. I've been called it right. No, it was onside. I've been meant to say onside. Definitely.
Yeah.
I watched the stream on Cardiff City TV, and they replayed it quite a few times. So, yeah, I'm sorry. I was shouting offside. No, he was onside. He was onside.
Mm-hmm.
He was.
But
yeah, there was no doubt about it.
That's the dilemma for defences these days.
Yeah,
years ago, as a centre forward, if you were stood the other side of the defence, you're offside. These days, you'll see strikers. You know, they stood on the penalty spot. They're everywhere. They're waiting for those second balls because that's the way offside's being called these days. So for me, as a defender, or if I was coaching those defenders, I'd say, look, if that ball's 25 yards out, you know it's going to be fizzed in. You drop back in and defend the ball. Don't appeal for offside. Get back in there.
It's an interesting one, though, Jeff, as well. Is by the way, great comment there from Mr. Wales. Keep the faith. We know who that gentleman is. I'd play Salah and Robinson versus Plymouth. Attack, which is fair enough. We got to start scoring goals. But the thing is, Jeff, with that goal on the weekend, is kind of where the free kick was taken from. It's a slightly trickier one in a way to defend, going back to what Steve said, because there is that kind of quandary. So what the attacking side do is they hang offside, don't they? They hang offside till the last second, and then they step back. You know, so it's kind of a tricky one, and unfortunately we misjudged it, and we were exposed, weren't we?
Yeah, we were. We definitely were. I think it was Guta stepped back a little bit and put the lad on side, and there we are.
But going to the Portsmouth match, Jeff, if we can, if that's all right. Just going to the Portsmouth one, yeah. You know, and this was what I thought was better on the weekend. I take again Wiggy's point about it being a bit lackluster, I suppose, in the first half. But I thought we were much more solid. We were much harder to break down. Whereas against Portsmouth, we just caved, didn't we? The first 20 minutes. And Josh Murphy, like I said in the post in the week, looked like Rivellino, you know. All of a sudden, he was just absolutely unbelievable, you know. But we've done that, Jeff. That's the thing, isn't it? There's a type of goal that we tend to give away. And we've just done it too many times this season. That's really one of the main reasons why we're in the mess we're in, I think. Poor starts, you know.
Yeah, always poor starts. Well, not always, but we can start very poorly and put ourselves right on the back foot. I think the Portsmouth game, I mean, God, they were ugly, Portsmouth. It was like old school football. It was hoofball. It would have been purring at the way they played it. It was like watching a National League game. The ball's in the air, up, up, up. You know, I mean, God alive. And we just couldn't cope with that at the time. And we were just, everything was in the air. It was a horrible, horrible game. And I'd seen Portsmouth play earlier in the season, and they played a bit of football. But they've changed, haven't they? I think they found out the only way they're going to do it is a bit of hoofball and use a bit of physicality, which worked for them. We couldn't cope with it. Unfortunately, it was a horrible, horrible game. And
is it we couldn't cope with it?
I've even trying to erase it from my memory bank, that game.
Well, I'm not letting you do that, see? So I'm just being cruel. But actually, I know a whole family of Portsmouth fans actually run a bar that I know in Bulgaria, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think I kind of effectively suggested to him we didn't take the mick out of each other, however the result went this time. But it seems like it's a very narrow pitch. The lighting, the flood lighting looks really dark. Just all together, very kind of a bit like Luton, actually. Not for the lighting kind of way. It was a very intimidating, very physical encounter, wasn't it?
Yeah, touch of Ninian Park, I think. 66 meters it is. It's 66 meters. It is one of the narrow.
Yeah, it
pitches.
looks narrow. We just couldn't really get it going.
Yeah.
But it is worrying, Steve Thomas. I think it's worrying that I can't understand why really. Surely we get the proverbial rocket at half time. Yeah, can we have the rocket before kickoff? Let's hit the ground running.
Yeah, it seems as though perhaps they need to get to the ground earlier. Perhaps they need to spend more time out on the pitch, because the two games where we started off appallingly away in recent weeks have been Millwall and Portsmouth.
Yep.
Yes, they can both be quite intimidating atmospheres. However, there's no excuse for not getting in the game until the first 20 minutes. It's almost like the other team's done their homework on us. They know how to start off against us, and it takes us the 20 minutes to react. And in those two games, we got it against Millwall, but we didn't quite get it back against Portsmouth. But after the first 20 minutes in both games, it was much better, and particularly at Millwall, where we made the changes, bringing on Salek and El Ghazi, who both had excellent games, and we started creating things. Also, we were greatly helped, I think, on Saturday and against Millwall, that both teams started backing off us. Both teams started giving us the play. Portsmouth didn't do that. Yeah, we had Robbo had the one really good chance, but then of course they went straight down the other end after that Robbo chance, and they hit both posts, and somehow Anik got in the way of it, and somehow the player got a block in. So it could have been worse as it was. But we need to start better. And I think the two best home games this season have been Portsmouth and particularly Plymouth, where we did start off well, and we were the ones 2-0 up early on in the game against Plymouth. We took the game to them. Now, obviously, as we've made the point quite clearly tonight, it's not going to be the same Plymouth Argyle that came to Cardiff City Stadium.
No, it's not.
Sort of game. And we've got to match that. And I'll be more confident if we can get through the first 20 minutes on Saturday without conceding the goal.
Yeah, because that first goal, I think the first goal is vital. And the thing is, Steve, Wiggy, against Millwall, basically we got out of jail. Really, we gave away two terrible goals, but you're not going to get out of jail every time. You give away two goals like we did again in Portsmouth. The likelihood is you're out of the game.
First goal is so important these days, especially the way teams are setting up. And just to go quickly back to Portsmouth, Jeff, they're ugly, but they're getting results. They beat Oxford 2-0 away again on Saturday. So they've come up with a little bit of a formula, old school, whatever it may be, but they've won their last two games and we haven't. And that's a big worry, because I don't know if we've got the capability to get ugly, to be honest. But to go back to your question, Steve, we need to start quicker. And I noticed on Saturday, Rizza was on the side. He was giving it all this, come on. He was constantly for the first half an hour trying to get more pace into our game and trying to G El Ghazi up on the outside, telling him to spin in behind. And he was constantly in his face, to try and get us into a different gear. And something else I'll mention as well, our throw-ins are absolutely disgraceful. Whether we don't work on things like that, but I mean, I can remember when Malky was here, he'd have us running everywhere, people crossing over, so they're creating space from throw-ins. We just stand still like statues, really poor. And little things like that, they all add up, don't they? If we're not showing that little bit of initiative on the pitch, it gives the other side a little bit of a feather in their cap and a spring in their step, and we need to improve.
We look like startled rabbits, really. Josh Murphy, he just absolutely destroyed us, which is ironic. But Steve Wiggy, I'll go to you first, and then I want to go to Steve and Jeff on the same thing. I know Jeff's going to have an opinion on this. So, Paul, CCFC Bluebirds, what's the worry is the fact we've been in this position before, we've not learned from it. We only seem to start bashing and beating teams up when we got to come from behind. Rizza isn't learning, right? So, Steve, if I go to you first on Omar Rizza, because as soon as we don't win, obviously, it turns full circle again. What's your thoughts on that now, Steve Wiggy?
It's interesting. It's a really good comment, that, Paul. I don't honestly know what Riz is saying to the side before they get on that pitch at the start. I mean, I was only in senior league, but we had it drummed into us. First 20 minutes, you get stuck in. You put a couple of tackles in. Don't matter if you get a booking. Put a couple of tackles in. Put a couple of challenges in. Start with pace. Get some pace in your game. And I don't honestly. It's almost like it's almost like we're waiting two boxers in a ring, and we're waiting for our opponent to strike the first blow. That's what it feels like. And I don't know what he's saying to the guys before they go out, but they definitely need to get more on the front foot. And that's why I think by playing a big target man, you can knock a couple of long balls and get the team further up the pitch. At the moment, we're playing first half in our own half primarily. We're playing, but we're knocking the balls around in our half as opposed into theirs, and that's what we need to do more of. Perhaps a big man up front will make the difference. I don't know what you guys think.
I want to go to Steve Thomas next because I know Jeff's going to have opinions on this. Steve, you tend to be a fairly positive kind of Steve Thomas, fairly positive kind of guy, and what's your thoughts on this? That he's relatively he's an inexperienced, isn't he, at this level? Also he wasn't for what it's worth. He wasn't even on the side of the pitch for three games, was he? What's your general thoughts on him?
I wonder if stating the obvious, states going back to absolute basics. Do we need to know more about the opposition before we start? It seems like the opposition seem to know more about us as the game starts. It takes us a while to get into the game. Why is that? Is that because the opposition manager's outwitting Omar and his team, or is it that they we're just not setting up right? Because it seems like the first 20 minutes of all these games we've started poorly, we've put it right. Are we being stopped from playing by the other team? I think we need. I think it sounds like I think we need to prepare better. I was encouraged on Saturday that we didn't let in a goal. In fact, where I was standing, I did actually point to the board, and it was 1950, saying, "Oh look, we've not let a goal in the first 20 minutes. Oh, there's another 10 seconds yet. You've spoken too early." Luckily, of course, we did actually manage to get to the second half before we let the goal in. But the first half on Saturday was kind of. Perhaps we needed to be a bit more positive. To go on Wiggy's point as well, I think there's something in it that we were scared to lose that game. We were scared to lose against Portsmouth as well. I think we do need to show a bit more positivity, and if we do go to Plymouth and try to win the game, I'm sure we can.
Okay, Jeff, Omar Rizza.
I love him. Absolutely love him. Look, he's the man who's brought in Manswerk. He's the man who brought in Salek. He's the man who managed to get Alves for us. These are all the players that we need at the moment. Two of them, unfortunately, are not going to stay with us. Maybe Manswerk, a chance. But he set the template for what we need. I like him, and we missed him in those 3 games that he was in the stands. And yet no one was saying this when we were a bit cagey against Swansea. These are the big derbies. Riz is very aware of these derbies, how important they are. Yeah. We were a bit cagey against Swansea first half, and then bang, bang, bang. He changed things around. He did that switch about 20 minutes into the first half. We started playing. We ended up winning 3-0. And he can do things like that. I mean, the problem is there's so many people down on him now that everything he's doing is being over-scrutinized, overthought, and it's the default. It's Riz's fault. It's Riz's fault. Some of the players don't turn up. He can't do it. He can pick the side. I can understand why he's picking the sides, but I'm afraid with me, I'm very positive about him. I think we've got a little gem in the making there. Yes, he's still inexperienced of sorts, but the more he manages City, the more experience he will get. And I think we got a gem there, and we need to be holding on to him, not ripping into him, I look at the 7-side derby. I call them the 7-side derbies. I always do a little league I include Swansea. They're on the 7 more or less. We're top of that. We didn't lose against any of those.
I love the fact you keep believing.
It was played for 1-1, drawn 3, goal 0.6, goal difference 3.
Who came bottom?
The Wurzels came bottom, actually. Yeah,
Swansea mid-table. Yeah,
mid-table Swansea. Yeah, but we did that. Those are the important games for Cardiff fans. We didn't lose any of those.
No.
Yet, Swallow, you can't do anything right. Well, there we are. You know what I mean? I'm afraid I am an out-and-out Rizza fan. And it's
Okay.
nothing to do with the 10-1 I got off Bet365 when he got the job.
Yeah, you put me on the wrong scent there, Jeff. I must say.
Yeah,
I was on Billich.
you're putting you on the Billich. Yeah, well, I got the odds out on the Rizza,
Stitch me
didn't
up there, mate.
I was an ex-bookie, mate. You know what I mean? I know how to play the game.
Exactly. Yeah. Taking your point though, Jeff, about it's important kind of sentimentally and also in terms of local association and whatever to not lose the derbies and turn up, which we have this season.
Yeah.
But also in these like Portsmouth and these kind of games and Plymouth coming up now, they are absolutely genuine 6-pointers, aren't they? We've got to turn up. We got to start well. We got to be solid, and I think we got to go for it. We got to start winning those games, haven't we?
Yeah, all right. Yeah. I would say, bear in mind, they've got to win the games more than we've got to win the games.
They're still a bit behind us, I suppose.
Yeah. There was more pressure on them. And going back to Steve earlier on, when we come to the end of the season, and we're playing sides who are playing to get promoted and trying to get into the top 6 and get points, there's as much pressure on them, if not more, than us. And I can see us getting a few results in that too, because they're the ones who would be too scared to lose, because they're chasing the Premiership dream this season, So I think we'll be okay, and once these players gel, we'll be fine.
I just want to talk about something which is peripheral in a way, but Steve Thomas first on the weekend. I'll introduce this slightly differently. When we last played Bristol City at home, my daughter was coming to the match with me, and for some reason, I don't know why, she's my daughter. She was wearing a red dress. Yeah, not a great idea playing Bristol City, but there you go. So she turned up, and I said, "What? Because she have some sort of City thing or whatever in her pocket." And as I turned up, all the Bristol City fans were turning up, and I said to her, don't show any Cardiff City colours or whatever, But she had a red dress on, so she probably got away with it. But they took him at the back of Cardiff Central Station. They walked him straight down the road, round the back, and bang, right? So why on earth? I just don't understand why. Why would the South Wales Police decide to take Bristol City fans off the train straight through the town centre, and then not even contain them and have all that stuff kicking off? It just seems, it's just mad, Steve. I just don't understand what the thinking is there.
Yeah, I don't either. I've seen the videos of police numbers, media numbers 400 going past the Prince of Wales pub with 4 Cardiff fans out the front, and the police managed to get in between them. Yeah, it was like the old days. I remember. People, obviously not myself, but people waiting in the pub. When you come out of the old Cardiff station, you go over the bridge, and there'll be a pub on the corner as you went over the bridge. The away fans used to be taken past that and used to empty as it came out. You'd have thought they'd learn from these things. It's going back to the old days, isn't it? It's not like it used to be. I remember, going to Portsmouth, the home games of Bristol, they'd be hairy kind of days. But
yeah, well, it just seemed to me, Wiggy, that this was totally preventable and just stupid, really, just stupid idea,
I don't understand it, Steve. I've seen quite a few videos, and why would you want to endanger just general members of the public to football fans on a Saturday? Next year is going to be a bubble trip for sure. Now, I don't see the logic of taking football fans into the town centre when you can, you think some of the games that I've been away, you ferry straight into the ground and straight into the stadium, or you're as close to the stadium as they can possibly dump you off, So,
yeah.
And the other thing on moving on from that was the closure of Sloper Road again after the final whistle. I don't understand that either. I mean, there's 20-odd thousand home fans or 19,000 home fans. Let them go first. Keep the Bristol fans in the ground and then let them go. I mean, that's the way you get treated away, Steve, these days, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, for the days when we were locked in the ground for hours afterwards as an away fan. First time I went to the Old Den, 1982, we won 4-0, and I think we were still locked in the ground an hour after the game for our own safety.
Yeah. But it was. I try to think. It was Vince Alm was talking. Jeff, the other. We're going to talk about this briefly. But Vince Alm was talking. I think it was last season when he came on the show about it's only about the Cardiff Swansea thing being the bubble trip, and it's time to kind of end that bubble trip. But then you see this stuff with Bristol. I know. Can we move on? Can we get to a stage where we can have local derbies of this nonsense going on? I'd say we probably can. If no offense to South Wales Police, if it was somebody with half a brain had chosen the more sensible route.
Well, there is a sensible route for a start off. There are a hell of a lot of them arrived at Cardiff Central. Now I know they should have put them on the platform 7 or 8. And got Transport for Wales. I know Transport for Wales will probably say we haven't got the sets to do it. I used to be a train driver for them. But I know they could get some rolling stock and straight down to Ninian Park.
Yeah.
And they just walk him in from there. No pubs, sorry, Ninian Park. Or it's going to be bubble again, isn't it? If it, things like that. You cannot have them walking around the city centre. Absolutely ridiculous.
No, it's crazy.
If you're going to walk him to the station, you got to walk him down Penarth Road.
That's what they did last time, and that was I was right behind them. That was kind of fine.
Yeah, and you do it that way, but through the city centre, the police too lazy to walk that far now, or what? They used to walk us. Ashton Gate was a walk, wasn't it? Yeah. They'd have us jogging. You know what I mean? Jeez, horses, come on, keep up with the horses. Jeez. God, I nearly died a couple of times there.
Talking about Bristol City, I remember getting the police escort on foot back from Eastfield back to Bristol Station. That was
yeah. But they did it once. I went to an away game. It was QPR. I think it was when Chopra came back, and some City fans got a bit naughty. We were in a big Weatherspoons in. Can't remember the name of the pub, but we had to get a tube. And what they did, they actually put on a tube for them. An empty tube came in to take us out to QPR. I couldn't believe it. You know what I mean? They said, just wait here, there's a tube coming. So we all thought they were going to be crowded, but it was empty. They put on a tube. That's the way to do it.
Well, it's not rocket science. So the other thing we could mention today, Steve Wiggy brought up to my attention earlier that team down the road have got rid of their manager. 5 points more than us. They're having a laugh, aren't they?
But haven't they lost the last 8 or 9 games in a row? And I've got some, like we all have probably, some friends or acquaintances down in Swansea, and they've been banging the Williams out drum for a long time. Be interesting to see how they get in, because there's quite a few decent managers out of work. And will they go for Cooper again?
Well, we don't want to dwell on it too long, but there's got to be a possibility with his mate. As deputy, we'll see. But on a lighter note, of course, if we look at the championship table, really Oxford, I guess, have pulled away really, but they're going the other way. Swansea coming back down. I think Swansea is still in the mix, And then if we look at that, there's 10 points between Swansea and Luton at the bottom. Kind of anything can happen. Yeah, I think it's just going to be a roller coaster ride, isn't it? It is going to be, isn't it? That's the way it's going to be.
Super close this season. I don't know. I mean, I think is it normally around 50 points you're looking for to
well, I don't think it needs to be 50 maybe this year, Steve, because there's so many teams in the mix.
Yeah,
you might be able to get away with less.
Our current form table, we're in on the last games played. I think we're 10th or 11th in the current form table. That's interesting. I didn't realise that.
Yeah.
So
because we lost. I don't know if anyone got the figures in front of them. Steve Thomas probably. I think we probably lost 2 in about 14, something like that. I don't think we've lost that many. We've drawn quite a few, but we haven't lost that many in the last few games. And again, Jeff, that's why obviously, and it was Bristol City as well, right? It's funny, they were singing Cardiff get battered everywhere they go until we put the ball in the back of the net, wasn't it? But there you go. We're playing Bristol City,
Yeah.
right? But we had lost. It would have been 3 straight losses, and then you start to worry again, then, don't you?
Yeah,
it's a big result, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, we didn't, did we? So there we are.
It's interesting.
We didn't lose. We don't lose in the 7-side derbies anymore, Steve. We
Tabletoppers. Sorry, Steve Thomas.
tabletoppers.
Going on the results. Obviously, before we lost to Leeds 7-0 2 weeks ago, we'd only lost 1 in 13 at Ellen Road, and I think they said it was the first time we lost in a league game at Fratton Park since 73-74 season. So we haven't done that badly. And again, I take your point. It's interesting that Josh Murphy's made to look like a world beater on such a narrow pitch as well when he's a winger.
Yeah. But his delivery was it just touched on his. He nearly scored a great goal. He put a great corner in. He just looked. He just really looked up for it, which I can't remember it being like that for us very often.
What we needed there was a Phil Dwyer in the first 5 minutes, Steve.
Yeah,
just one Phil Dwyer, pull him into Rosehead, and I don't think you would have seen him for the rest of the game.
No.
Am I right, Jeff?
Yeah, no, that would have been sorting it, wouldn't it? Let's be fair, yeah. And he would have. Yeah, he would have met. Hello, I'm Joe. How are you? Look, talking of pitches, 66 meters wide, Pompey. City Stadium is 68 meters wide, and I've argued for ages we can go wider than that.
Yeah.
We got more room. Plus the fact, if you go a bit bloody wide, you cannot. These clever guys who can chuck the ball in, it becomes harder. Yeah. We're not the greatest of some of these crosses coming in, are we? You know what I mean? But I say no. Yeah, it is narrow. How we played that well on a narrow pitch, I don't know. But we're fairly narrow ourselves. We're not. We don't have much width. So a meter either side.
Yeah,
we could go wider. I've always said, give us some more width, and you can do that in the pitch.
There's loads of great comments again. I'm really glad we've only got a couple of minutes when we want to get a score prediction. Also, just looking at the fixtures, by the way, because of the rearranged Hull game, it's a tight old number of games going on there, which makes you wonder. Because City we've been given 15%, haven't we? Tickets, which is 6,500 for Villa. But we've got Plymouth and Hull first, which are way, way, way more important. And then the Burnley game is going to be a tough one. But Martin Ryan's put I'm really glad Martin put this in. So this is the guy I've been going on about for years, really. Joel Bagan, came in, played in central defence, left hand side. He's just got it, hasn't he, Joel? He's got the right attitude, and he's assured and versatile, and he'd be a hard one to drop now, wouldn't he? So I think he'll stay in. So well done, Joel Bagan. So looking forward to the Plymouth match. Do you see? We haven't got that long, but do you see? I'll go to you, Jeff, first briefly, and I will just whiz around briefly. Do you see any more tactical changes coming in? I guess Chambers hopefully will be back. Do you see any tactical changes? And also, what's your prediction?
I see Salak up front from the start. I think that's going to be one. You've got to put him against this Katic. I'm not sure if they're from the same sort of region originally. No, Salak's Jordanian and Palestinian and Danish, But give him against Katic. So that's the main one. And I would go 4-4-1-1. Prediction 1-1.
Okay,
that's a downer prediction for me, by the way, Steve.
Yeah, I know you obviously you gave him a goal. You don't normally do that.
Yeah.
Lee Griffiths comes in with a good comment as well. A point a game. We are actually absolutely on a point a game. So, do you think 46 will be enough? It could be, but I imagine we're going to need to get more. Steve Thomas, any changes for the weekend and a score prediction?
I agree. I'd like Salish to start. However, I fear we will start off a little bit too negatively. We may go behind, so we're going to have to come from behind and we'll win 2-1 when we make the changes we need to. Okay, fair enough. Steve Wiggins?
He's got a bit of a dilemma Saturday, especially if Robertson's fit as well, because I'd like to get Robertson in there for a bit more grit, but I think there's going to be goals Saturday. They're going to come at us because that's a passionate crowd down there. Those Greens, when they come up here, they're always very vocal. So I'm going 2-2 Saturday. I think it's going to be another draw.
Steve, Thomas, sorry, what was your score prediction?
2-1 win, having gone a goal down.
Okay, so we all think we're not going to lose. There we go. That'll be fair enough. All right. Well, thank you all very much for another good show, and let's hope we do get a positive result on the weekend, because it's a massive game. Cheers all. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, boys.